I have had several very rich experiences, both group and individual coaching and training different programs. In terms of the money side of like, how do you actually have a coaching business? Very early on, I joined Christina Berkeley's Lighthouse program and her mastermind. And that was utterly phenomenal in just getting the business off the ground. Also, I got trained by Marian Franklin on laser focus coaching, which is the one-on-one coaching method.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rexhen, and today's guest is Dr. Irene Salter, a leadership coach, writer, and trainer who blends the rigor of neuroscience with the heart of human connection to help leaders not just survive, but truly thrive. With a PhD in neuroscience from UCSF and more than 20 years of leadership experience in education and nonprofits, Irene brings a rare mix of scientific insight, lived wisdom, and deep compassion for her coaching. Through her practice, Inquiring Minds, Irene works with mission-driven leaders who are navigating uncertainty, burnout, and high-stakes change. It's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Irene.
Thanks, Rexhen. Honored to be here.
Thank you for coming, Irene. It's an honor for us to have you on. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about when it comes to your coaching business, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
I would say that 10 years ago, I didn't even know leadership coaching or coaching as a profession existed. I got my start with 2 different threads that have wound their way through my entire career. I am utterly fascinated by science, and I also love building community. And so those 2 things have really been the heart of everything that I've done. So started off mostly like learning about how the brain works. I'm fascinated in particular by all of the neural systems that underlie learning, motivation, and our emotions. And so I did all of my PhD research on that topic. And while I was doing that, I realized that it was fun to volunteer in schools with teachers, et cetera. And I fell in love with the teaching part because that was a place where I could hold space and help people learn and build community within a classroom. So when it came time at the end of my PhD to choose what direction I was going to go, I ended up as a middle school science and math teacher. And I did that for a while, ended up then teaching teachers how to teach science at Chico State. I founded a new department there, became a leader with like a department chair, as well as like chair of multiple different committees and organizations in that area. And then I had the chance to become a school leader where, again, I could hold space for a community, now an entire school community with faculty as well as students and their families. And then I could still be within science because it was a science and nature focused school. So I ended up there. So that fast forwards me down 25 years from my PhD program. At that point, my family wanted to do a gap year. We wanted to take a year off and travel and see the world and live and work and school all over. I can't take a principal job with me. And this was in 2019 that we decided that, okay, we're going to go. At the same time, my best friend, she did a leadership coaching class, and she was taking new clients to try to find out, is she good at this? Does she like it? And so on. And she asked for guinea pigs. So I said yes. So December 2019, I signed up with her and we decided we'll do 6 months of coaching and just see how it goes. And it could not have been a better time because at that time I was thinking I'll be 1 more year as a principal. I'll have to find my replacement, etc. And of course, March 2020, all the schools shut down. It's COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is the most stressful, crazy, difficult time to be a school leader. And here I had the privilege of having a leadership coach at my side. And it was transformative. It was so, so helpful. And I was like, why did I not know about this career? Why did I not know that this existed? It is the most impactful, important thing to have somebody walk by my side right now and help me through all of those decisions, but also help me through that really challenging, uncertain, scary time. And from that point, I was like, okay, well, the new career I'm going to take with me when I get out of this job and into the gap year, who knows if it's even going to happen, was as a leadership coach. And so that was the direction that took me into that career.
Mm-hmm. And so right now it's been about 5 years
Mm-hmm.
since you started Inquiring Minds,
Yeah.
and you're working with leaders. Now, how would you describe the type of leader that you typically work with? Like the ideal client profile, is there a certain industry, a certain demographic? Do they have some certain common goals, other commonalities? How would you describe the ideal client profile if they're listening to?
I don't so much have a demographic, I have a psychographic. They are people and passion and purpose-driven people. They serve others. They're very much servant leaders. And you find them in all different kinds of industries. But I would say that like 75% of my clients typically come from government, nonprofit, education, science, academia, kind of a research background, or healthcare. Because that's where people who are very like passionate about what they do, they're very purpose-driven and people-driven. That's where those people come from. But you can also find them in private industry and elsewhere. Very cross-disciplined, cross-industry, but those are my people. And they often struggle with very similar kinds of struggles. Work-life imbalance, they suffer from imposter syndrome, people-pleasing, overachieverism, perfectionism. That tends to run pretty rampant across most of my clients.
And how is the engagement that you have with these clients? Is it a one-on-one? Is there a certain program of a certain length? Is it like custom to each person? How would you describe the engagement?
It varies greatly, and it has transformed over the course of my time as a leadership coach. I think of my business practice actually with an analogy as a castle. And so I have this castle that I've built, and I have a great hall where I have group types of programs. I have leadership retreats and I have leadership circles there. I also do team development in that kind of great hall space. But then I also have castle towers. So individual towers for individual clients that are completely customized to them. And that's where I do my one-on-one coaching. And I do support my individual leaders in these custom designed towers. And I have a very small number of them because for me, it's very important not to overextend myself to be able to give those clients the white glove treatment that they deserve and need. And then I have like a courtyard. So that's the public space in which I serve lots of people and I give away content and other things for free because I'm, again, a servant leader, and I truly believe in being able to offer people something that they can access without having to pay. But if they want into the castle, like, here are the different offers.
Lovely castle. So, and like when it comes to them coming to work with you, how do they find you? And this is a question that coaches are going to find useful. It's going to go to that research I mentioned earlier. What marketing channel is working really well for you? Where do they find you?
They find me through many different avenues, a lot through that courtyard type of approach. So I've found that a lot of coaches have two different philosophies. There's the philosophy of charge for what you do and be really like strict about that, because if you don't, then you're giving away your time, your energy, and you're going to have a harder time charging. Then there's also the give lots of things away, or at least be strategic about giving things away, because that's a way to invite people in. And I'm much more of the, give and you shall receive, the second philosophy, if you will. Mm-hmm. And what I really think is that when people find me either through one of my free programs, my podcast, my book club, I have a blog post, and I have a in-person leadership circle that I do here in town. But when people find me through that, that's actually where a lot of my clients enter from. And then once people have been inside the castle, I get a lot of clients from referrals. Mm-hmm. That was not where I started. Where I started was a lot more of like invite and reaching out and speaking out to try to recruit clients through my network. And I do a lot less of that now, but I still have these courtyard offerings that I feel serve that purpose of serving the greater public, but also at the same time enticing other people into my world and my network.
So right now is mostly referrals. Initially was a lot of outreach.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you see this going for the next 1 to 3 years? Do you have like specific goals you're working towards with Inquiring Minds?
I have some new initiatives. Yes, definitely. One of my newer initiatives is I'm writing a book. And the book is Have Brain, Will Travel. And it's based on that gap year journey. And it's the science of why we love to travel and how travel makes us come alive. But more than that, how does travel change our brains in ways that allows us to do our everyday lives in a much more alive, vibrant, and engaged fashion? And so even though technically people would pick up the book because it's like, oh, I travel. I want to know how my brain is on travel. I'm hoping that what they learn from it is how can those changes that happen when you travel be created in your everyday? And how can you bring adventures that you do have while traveling back to your work and your life?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been having so much fun working on that book. It's also a place where I do a lot of, how would I say, like experiments on myself, because I've been having to practice all of the things that I have to encourage my clients on. How do you do habit change? How do you conquer imposter syndrome and actually get really good at it and turn it into imposter moments? How is it that you put yourself out there in new ways and embrace the unknown and do really hard things? So for me, that's been just a really lovely test bed for rewriting my own identity in ways that I help my clients rewrite theirs.
Interesting. And when is the book coming out?
I have an agent, which is great. I've got about half a manuscript written. So I'm hoping to finish the manuscript within the next 6 to 9 months and then go out for a publisher. And usually once you have a traditional publisher, it takes 12 to 18 months for it to get on shelves. So probably 2027, maybe. We'll see.
Cool, 2027. I'm looking forward to it because I really like any book that comes from a background in neuroscience. One that I'm reading right now is a famous one you probably have read. Is from Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is what I'm reading now, and I'm fascinated about it. And I'm always looking forward to new books that tackle neuroscience. So I'm really interested in that. Yeah.
I'm working on a chapter right now on traveling with family. What does that mean and why does it have, the research suggests that it has huge benefits, and why does it do so? And so I'm diving deep right now into the neuroscience of social connection versus loneliness. What does that mean? And then trying to apply that not just to travel, but to our workplaces. How can you then, like, with understanding how the brain is wired for social connection, how can you use that to your advantage within the workplace and in leadership?
Cool.
It's been fun. It's like the best, like most creative, fun, play all the neuroscience and all the leadership interwoven kind of place to be.
Amazing. So it's like that there's a blend of neuroscience and traveling, and how that those two come together, and a new perspective, like traveling with family. That's awesome. I want to read more about that.
Well, hopefully 2027, it'll be out there. So, yeah.
Great. Amazing. In terms of, and going back to the questions about the research that I mentioned earlier, in terms of investments you made over time as a coach, what do you feel like have been some good investments that you feel really good about? Either you learned a lot or you got a good return from, and what have been some investments that you don't feel so good about, or you feel like you probably should have avoided?
I have had several very rich experiences, both group and individual coaching and training different programs. In terms of the money side of like, how do you actually have a coaching business? Very early on, I joined Christina Berkeley's Lighthouse program and her mastermind. And that was utterly phenomenal in just getting the business off the ground. Also, I got trained by Marianne Franklin on laser focus coaching, which is the one-on-one coaching method that I adopt. And she's a, MCC master coach and continues to do training. I'm still in one of her programs because it consistently makes me a better coach every single time and every single interaction. More on the personal side, there's a lot of my clients who struggle with huge high stress and sometimes trauma And so I joined the Center for Mind-Body Medicine and their training program and got skilled in mind-body medicine. And so mind-body medicine is a way to use medical science to better your body's ability to deal with stress and trauma. And it's done in a very collective way. So it's done in small group, support group format. And I got trained on that so that now I can offer that kind of a program to my clients. And when I hold space now, that's some of the techniques that I bring. And then I would say the last program that I really loved is the Conscious Leadership Group. And so they have multiple different ways to engage. Their book is fantastic. It's now my favorite leadership book that I've ever read, 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And it allows for me to take some of the things that I know about how the brain works. When is it that we're conscious about what we're doing and leading versus when is it that our unconscious brain is leading us? And they call it like leading above and below the line. And there's a lot of different techniques that they include to help us lead more above the line, more in our conscious brain, and more able to really take control and understand what we're doing. So I found that to be phenomenal, and I just got accepted into their coach certification program. So I'm super excited because that's going to be my personal and professional development next year. Rexhen, you also asked, like, what are some investments that I might have made that were less valuable?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that early on, I was very much chomping at the bit to like get all the training that I possibly could. And so I was saying yes to a lot of the kind of cold call reach outs that one might get from, say, LinkedIn or from other kind of venues. And those were never worth my effort. It was always something that felt like an off-the-shelf solution that was being pushed at me. You should do it this way. You have to do it that way. You can't get clients. And I found none of that to be true. And so it was very important for me early on to let go of all of the shoulds and have-tos and you must, because as soon as I did and found more authentic ways of finding clients and marketing and being out there in the world, it's been a much more fun and much more important and authentic experience.
Do you feel like right now, is it predictable? Is it consistent? How do you feel about referrals? Because what we've learned from previous research that we did last year is that referrals are amazing because they're coming from someone who trusts you. They're more likely to work with you. It's just that they're not always predictable.
Yes. And I would agree with that. So for my one-on-one clients, it is almost entirely referrals and people that are within my network. So people, for instance, that have either been in my courtyard or been in my great hall, they are the ones who come in and be part of my one-on-one space, or they're a direct referral of someone who has been through all of those programs. In contrast, how do I get people into my retreats or my leadership circles? That for me is much more of an invitation type of style. And so I have, I think it was Rich Litvin who kind of talked about the money game. And one of his ideas about the money game is if you want to make X amount of money, you don't have control over who says yes. What you do have control over is how many reach outs you make and how many people you invite into said program. And so I very much take that to heart. So if I want, say, 20 people in my next leadership circle, I'm going to need to reach out to probably over 100 people to invite them into that space with me. And what's been fortunate is that before I had to do those reach outs just through my native network, the people that I knew through my work or the people that I knew through nonprofit leadership. Now, however, not only is that space grown considerably, I have all these people that are part of, my book club, people that are part of my, email list, but also groups that I've worked with. So recently I was doing things with the California Association for Museums. And so for my next leadership circle, I'll probably reach out to them and just say, hey, I'm offering this. Would any of your audience be interested? And take referrals that way. But it's definitely an invitation kind of a thing where I reach out to them and say, hey, would this be of interest to anybody that you know? So one of my biggest challenges right now is the fact that the fiscal situation for most of my core clients is really, really in right now. So when you look at government, nonprofit, education, science, and healthcare, every single one of those industries is feeling really uncertain about the financial future, primarily because of governmental change and political disruption. And it's not about politics per se, it's just that those things that are happening at a political level are impacting those industries in such a fundamental way that my leaders, the ones that I typically serve most of the time, do not have the flexibility in their budgets that they did last year. And so I've seen all of those one-on-one clients dry up. So what I'm doing differently and the that I'm approaching that challenge is, let's create a different program. So my next leadership circle is directly targeted to individuals that are struggling with political change and disruption. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating a circle specifically for those individuals, and I'm creating pricing tiers that are far more accessible than I've ever offered before. But that's my response to that challenge, and seeing how can I then create a program that can still serve my target audience, still serve the people that I love and care about the most, but do it in a way that allows them a lot more of that flexibility and a lot more of that. So usually I do only 6-month to 12-month engagements. Now I'm going to do a 3 months, just to see if the shorter term allows them to feel, okay, well, I can't commit to something for a year, but I can commit to something for 3 months, and see if that allows people an entry point into greater support.
When thinking about coaches who are looking to scale their impact, and in a way you're trying to do that with the book as well, because you can't always serve everyone with the amount of hours you have. So obviously you got to figure a way where you can make an impact in a way that is a little bit more scalable. So what advice would you give to coaches who are looking to scale their impact?
My question to them would be, why are you scaling? Because a lot of times people are scaling for the wrong reasons. They're scaling because they're chasing a dollar figure or a title or a certain milestone. Like, I want to be able to coach a Fortune 50 CEO, right? And I feel that rather than chasing any of those things, it's so much more important to chase a life that is fully alive, and that you are fully like in your zone of genius, you're following your purpose, that you're fully present because you are fully alive. And so what's really interesting is probably just as many of the powerful leaders that I've coached have stepped up into much higher levels of their leadership. But also there's many who I've coached who've decided to step back. And so I think that it's really important to look at that crossroad very carefully and really understand the reasons behind why you're scaling, and really understand, yes, absolutely, that is the next step that I want to take, or maybe not. And it's actually okay to plateau or to scale back or to stop and pause. Right now, I think in my practice, I'm not looking to scale in the sense of earning more money or having more clients. I mean, yes, I want to fill my next leadership circle and I want to serve those people well, but I'm not trying to grow in a significant sense because I'm really happy right now where I'm at. And it feels so good to be able to serve exactly the right people in the way that I love and be able to create these amazing spaces. I'm like the most professionally fulfilled that I've ever been. And I just want to enjoy that. And then there will be a time, I know, where I'm going to feel that calling and I do want to scale. And at that moment, I need to really understand, why is it that I'm feeling that call? And then when I see that and know it, that's when I'm going to step up. And that's when I would scale.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Irene. Thank you for amazing advice. And thank you so much for coming to our podcast today. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn and look up Irene Salter. And they can also go into irenesalter.com, which is the website, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Cool. We'll
Love
put
to
that,
see you there.
We'll put that on the description as well for people to find it easily.
Thank you, Rexhen. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.